Well, the process started when I was lying in bed after 4 years of migraines, and they're horrific. I'm sure as a doctor you've seen people having
It's
them.
horrible. It
Yeah.
takes over your life.
Oh, yeah. So what ended up happening was I was lying in bed one day, and the only way I could get over them is I would lie on a ball on my front. And I thought to myself, okay, when I go to the dentist, I have this ability not to need any Novocaine or anything.
Oh, really?
And I could take my consciousness out of my body and have dental work done.
Welcome back. You're watching the Dr. Nandi Show. We appreciate you staying on. Now, today's show is called Medical Miracles Part 2. I love conventional medicine, but I'm also aware of the health solutions outside of what Western medical schools have taught me. So today I ask that you keep an open mind as I introduce you to different approaches for healing. Now, just before break, we heard from Jennifer and how crippling her migraines were and how they ruled her life. As she sought out solutions, she became incredibly intuitive, which led her to see people holographically. Here to share her personal journey and how she developed and helped others with her gift is Jennifer Hough. Jennifer, thank you so much.
So great to be here.
Oh, it's our pleasure. We learned a lot today. Oh, yeah, of course. You know, tell us about, maybe take us back to when you were having your migraines and how you defeated them. What was that process like?
Well, the process started when I was lying in bed after 4 years of migraines, and they're horrific. I'm sure as a doctor you've seen people having
It's
them.
horrible. It
Yeah.
takes over your life.
Oh, yeah. So what ended up happening was I was lying in bed one day, and the only way I could get over them is I would lie on a ball on my front. And I thought to myself, okay, when I go to the dentist, I have this ability not to need any Novocaine or anything.
Oh, really?
And I could take my consciousness out of my body and have dental work done. So I lay in bed, body was down there, consciousness was somewhere else, and I started to be able to connect what was going on with me to a history with my father and
Oh, wow.
my father's father and my mother's father, and how both of them were engineers and they were all perfectionists. My father was extremely perfectionistic. I became perfectionistic. And what happened was I noticed that in the brain there were schisms. Now, at the time, you know, I'm no surgeon. I didn't go to medical school. I was a holistic nutritionist, but I didn't go to medical school. And I understood on a level that went beyond mental knowing, learning from a book. I understood that the patterns from my history were actually governing my current behavior, and I got very, very curious. And through a process that I've developed over time, within a week, from a few wakened dreams, those migraines went away.
And so it's almost as if you could dissociate your body and your mind. In a sense, right? So just so you can follow, because I think people who don't have this ability are trying to figure out, okay, so what happens? So you almost can see what's going on with your mind, even though your body's still in pain.
Yes.
Your mind and your consciousness can see what's going on. And then that eventually led to your migraines going away, and you're pain-free now, right?
I am pain-free, and actually the techniques really that I started to see were the real crux of it. Basically, that we could bridge so my left brain was understanding life a certain way. The way my left brain, my very logical brain was understanding life was that one had to be perfectionist or one didn't get love. One had to be accepted, even the belief that one had to be accepted, where that's not true either.
Correct.
And that one had to get everything right or something very terrible was going to happen. And that played out in my family.
I see.
And what was really interesting is and I started to study people like Dr. Bruce Lipton, and there's a German doctor named Dr. Hammer.
Yes.
I started studying these doctors because I was very left-brained. I'm linear.
Yes.
I wasn't a way out there woo-woo person. And so as I was studying these doctors, I realized that the research on all of this had been done, and that if I could build a bridge to deeper truths that would free me of these ingrained ideas, and if I could do it effortlessly, that I would release my affliction, I would say, and that's what happened. So
understanding really what you equated being valued, being loved, being accepted, And you took that and you said, this is not a true statement that I could do that.
But there's a technique to that. If I said to you right now, if you said to me, Jennifer, I need to lose 20 pounds, I say, okay, exercise and eat less.
Right.
People don't do it.
But you have to give the how.
Right.
You have to give the how.
So there's a way of building brain bridges. So for instance,
Between the right and left brain is what you're saying.
yes. Can I give you an example?
Sure, please.
Okay, so there's a woman that I'm thinking of right now, and you'll so get this, and all the women out there will get this. So this woman had put everybody else first and not herself, and she actually came to me with, in her case, depression and anxiety. And she put everyone else first and not herself. And I said, listen, it was mostly about her kids. I said, listen, girlfriend. And I used the technique. I said, and you'll see how this works. I asked her questions because we're each our own guru. We have the capacity to heal ourselves if we could ask the right questions. So I said, okay, are your children dependent on you for their happiness? She said, yes. I said, okay, let's ask a different question. Who's responsible for your happiness? She said, me. And I could ask you right now, I know who you'll say is responsible for your happiness. You'll say you, because I can see you. You are totally responsible for your own happiness. Well, she said, me. And these children, I said, well, let's see that. So when do they stop being dependent on you? She said, I don't know. I said, how about, who's happier, you or them? She said, pretty much them. I said, so you want to teach them your way when you're less happy than them? She said, oh, I get it. I said, okay. So that their own connection to life, to consciousness, to universe, whatever you want to call it. And they're already happier than you, and you want to teach them your way. And she started laughing, and I said, I said, listen, how about this? They're responsible for their happiness. If you were cursing and everything, would they learn to curse? She said, yeah. I said, so are you saying that your children learn by what you do? She said, yeah. I said, do you want your children to be happy when they grow up? She said, yes. I said, so what do you think is the greatest tool in order to be happy? She said, I guess I have to learn how to be happy as an adult.
Right.
I said,
And she got it. I believe you should be aware of your thoughts. They could unconsciously be self-sabotaging your life. Now, Jennifer Hough is back with me again. She's a seer, alchemist, author, and president and facilitator of the Wide Awakening. When we left, we talked about this, this individual who is a mother and with her kids, and we talked about the happiness for her kids were really dependent also, which is her primary goal, she said, was also really related to her happiness. And you helped her realize that. Now, how did she make that connection and bridge to facilitate the how?
so imagine that the entire way that you think about life and the thoughts that you think and the paradigm you're living in called I'm a mom, I'm anxious all the time, I'm depressed, I feel disempowered, I'm losing energy, I've got chronic fatigue, which, by the way, all disappeared after she did this exercise. I gave you a very simple example, but we did a few more things, and before long, she was at peace, and the major paradigm shift was, I'm their guide, not their mother.
Got it.
And so are all parents. Now imagine if we could make that major paradigm shift. What happens to the biochemistry is, I have to live my best life so I can teach them how to live their best life. That's just one example.
What Jennifer does amazingly is help people understand, listen, let's reprogram you, for lack of a better word, and you then understand really what it's about, or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve or be or feel, and then your body carries that out. I think, and the key is, how does this happen, or how quickly does this happen to people? And can anybody go through this process?
There is absolutely, anybody can go through this process. When you future project, when you take something about your life, like even when you envision doing this show, what happens is you start to envision what's possible for your life. Your biochemistry responds like it's true right now. Now here's the thing that people don't realize. When you do that, you actually create a living entity. It creates a thought form that you can build on. And that living entity, whatever other dimension it exists in, is out there living itself. Your brain, as you put attention on that life that you want, because most of us try to excavate how come we're not feeling good or how come our body isn't working. Absolutely. The problem is you're putting attention on all the stuff that's not working. The second part of this is not just bridging the thoughts that are keeping your biochemistry the same. You actually have to dive into how do you live another way. So you future create every day, at least once a day. I do it every day. And what happens when you future create is your body thinks that you're actually living that way. Not only that, you now have a creation that you can build upon. Your reticular activating device at the base of your brain now is tuned in to the future that you've envisioned, and all you're noticing is everything that actually lines up with what you want. And so you've told your brain that that's what's important to you by choosing to think that. But most people spend their whole day excavating the beliefs and trying to figure out why. Why questions are not very productive. So there's those are two of the fundamental premises of all the work that we do, and it's what saved my life, honestly.
And I think you're going to save a lot of people's lives. So, and you absolutely said this correctly. When we envision doing the show, I envision it to be successful and reaching millions of lives. And here's what happens. Many people say it in different ways, but when you self-actualize those things and what you start to, people say, well, these people that are positive get luckier. They really don't.
No.
Because your senses, those 5 senses and other senses we don't even know about, actually are hyper attuned to that happening. So you actually are making a reality for yourself. This is so important to hear what you just said, that you don't just say, well, I am not getting this, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not feeling this way because of A, B, C, D reasons. Instead, say, you know what? This is going to happen, and I'm going to do everything in my power to do it. And then it's not just saying that, your whole body then activates towards it. Many people, successful people will tell you that they actually write down and even draw or envision in their mind how their life is going to be, and it ends up being that way. This is amazing. If you'd like to learn more about Jennifer's programs, please visit thewideawakening.com. Thank you so much. It has been amazing. I'm so privileged to have you here. Oh, of course, and you're going to help millions of people understand this. It's time for a break. When we return, we'll hear from our next guest about how our ancestral DNA can affect our lives on many levels. This is amazing stuff. Thank you so much. Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Partha Nandi, and if you enjoyed that video, you're going to love the next one. It's full of incredible information to help you start your health hero journey.